Hey, this is Aaron with Seven Figure RIA. I want to break down in our series of radio show breakdowns the effective structure, some rhetoric versus dialectic, and lastly get into reasons why to simplify and reasons why simplifying is going to be your best friend moving forward. So I'm breaking this down for the purpose of making radio shows better. Radio shows still work. People are tuning in. People are in their cars and they're driving. They're listening to podcasts. They're listening to things. They might be on demand, but it's still a form of host to audience. Very little or no interaction whatsoever. So it is one person talking or a couple people talking and a bunch of people listening. That format works. So I'm going to share with you the structure that I see work time and time again. And it starts with one person who knows absolutely nothing or pretends to know absolutely nothing. And that person can often be the radio show host. They can be a person on air every single week who talks about a variety of different topics. Maybe they host the hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours, or 4 hours. And they have nothing to do with the firm or the financial company that's presenting. They're just asking simple audience questions or simple questions that the audience would ask. Why do I overpay in taxes? Why do I never know what life insurance to buy? How come I never have an understanding of if I'm taking advantage of the market? Simple questions. And the reason why you structure it with a layman is that your audience is distracted most of the time. They're on the road. Maybe they're gone for a walk. Maybe they're cleaning. They're doing something in addition to listening to you. So they don't have time or they don't have the bandwidth to think through complicated topics or more complicated topics that are outside of what they've been thinking about. Almost you want to jog someone's memory instead of creating a new memory in their mind. So the purpose of that simple additional host asking simple questions is to drive someone to resonate with you. It's not to drive new information entering their mind. So I'm going to get into my second point, which is kind of articulating in rhetoric, which is feelings, emotions, and things that can drive someone's, again, you're talking about memories, you're talking about pulling things and driving someone based on their whims, instead of data, percentages, getting into the quantitative reason to make a decision. That's not going to drive the majority of your listeners to make a decision. It's going to drive a minority. And a minority of your current listeners are going to be making a decision. So you're going to pull a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. You're not going to have the same amount of success. That's the case. If you're shooting for max volume, we need people in the door. We've got 500K or more in assets. This is what we want. Do not use a ton of percentages. You're going to lose people in the math that they forgot in high school. The feeling that they're not smart enough to keep up and this is not going to apply to them. Or they're tuning out because they just don't listen to percentages. And that is a majority of the population. And so if you're thinking about the people tuning in, you want to really understand that core idea that most people make decisions based on their feelings. Regardless of where they are in the nation, regardless of how rich they are within reason, and regardless of their life situation they're in, they're going to make a decision based on a feeling. And tying that into the structure, if you can have a radio show host who's similar to the audience that you want to resonate with. So maybe you're talking to that 55 to 65-year-old audience with a 59 to 65, nearing retirement. You want to have a radio show host. And this is creme de la creme, who's nearing retirement, who's at that cusp and thinking of the questions your audience is going to have, or your target audience is going to have. And so you can amplify those things by finding someone, maybe in the firm or a relative or a relationship, a CLI that you have who's in that demographic of I'm going to retire soon. They're kind of like your ideal client profile. Get them on the radio show host, have them ask the basic questions. Simplifying is not dumbing things down. This is my last point. A lot of the time when a financial advisor is trying to convey a complicated topic, they try to keep things as complicated as possible. This is going to lose people. Adjust your message to a 10-year-old. Adjust the language you're using so that a 10-year-old can understand you. You can use complicated ideas, or you can use complicated ideas and convey them in simple words, like the Roth conversion or the prime time to do a Roth conversion based on your income. You can talk about a complicated subject. You don't have to talk about numbers, but you can give the overview, a simplified concept using simple language, because your audience is going to, again, they're distracted. They're likely not going to use this as the primary reason to make a decision. This is going to be something that tugs on the feeling that they had in their mind. Why are people in my work mentioning they've got a Roth 401k? Why are people mentioning a Roth? I have no idea what to do with my Roth. How come my financial advisors never mentioned a Roth? There are certain things that are going to resonate. And the simpler they are, the closer you are to overlap with the feeling that they've had in their mind. And again, just talking about the simple numbers, when you're resonating with the majority of people, let's just say 100 people are listening to your podcast. Of the 100, 10 are qualified. One person needs to make a decision today. You need to resonate likely with all 10 of those people who are qualified. And the way that you can do that, the way you can resonate with the majority of them, is to talk about, simply resonate with a feeling that they've had. Resonate with something they've thought of before, a memory. It drives someone into that frame of mind where they're making a decision based on, this guy's talking about something I've experienced. So the pain point that they're having is worth mentioning. A radio show does not succeed based on fear. They don't succeed based on hype, because if you're just using those emotions, if you're just toying with, the fact that you're going to lose money, you're going to lose money, you're going to lose money, or you're going to get rich, or never invest, only buy annuities. Firstly, you're going to drive away the people who are not always in that frame of mind. And we want to hit on the majority of people. So having maybe a touch of emotion, evocative emotions once in a while, that's important. But you don't have to have a theme that overlays and shades your entire show. So if you respect your listeners' intelligence and you respect their emotional intelligence and you guide their attention, you're going to have a higher quality conversion and you're going to have a better follow through, those conversions turning into clients. And ultimately, the purpose of your radio show is to get more clients. If you want to know how we help radio shows and how we support radio shows, you can check out the rest of this video or the rest of the video series we're doing on radio shows. If you have any thoughts, how your radio show is way better than others, or maybe you think I'm totally off, comment below. We want to know. My name is Aaron with 7 Figure RIA. Looking forward to hearing from you in the comments below.